Welcome back, Legion. Today I want to talk to you guys about how to lose body fat to improve your sports performance. First thing I want you to do though is think about what are your sporting goals. What do you want to achieve in your sport? Then we can kind of decide whether losing body fat is actually going to be beneficial for you to help you achieve those sporting goals. It might not be the exact goal that you're looking for, but maybe it's a side effect, or maybe we're using it to reduce a little bit of body fat, which will therefore improve our sports performance. So we can go one of two ways. So the benefits of reducing our body fat for sports performance is that we can have a better relative strength. So if we are leaner, we weigh maybe a little bit less, but we're keeping our strength the same, we're actually even stronger than just the load that we're thinking about. From a ratio point of view, we are stronger for our own body weight. And this has been shown in the research that this is actually a really key indicator to sports performance and even reducing the chances of getting injured, having good relative strength, so strong for your own body weight. Sometimes, obviously, being a little bit lighter or having this better ratio of muscle to fat can equate for more speed, so we're faster, and we can be a little bit fitter because we are strong enough, we have the ability to move our own body weight a little bit easier. All right, so our efficiency actually increases. If our efficiency increases, we can do a bit more work. More work equals more fitness, essentially. So it's better to have this kind of higher muscle to fat ratio. Obviously, it depends what sport you're playing as well. Let's think about sumo wrestling. It's probably not the worst thing to have as much mass as possible. Yes, you definitely need some muscle in there to generate those forces, but having pure mass sometimes can actually be more beneficial. Even if we think of things like strongman training, where these guys just need to be massive. Yes, they need a ton of muscle, but having a little bit of extra body fat is actually way better because it can be mass versus mass sometimes. And if you are heavier and you are trying to lift or move a heavy object, it's actually going to be relatively easier. One of the other benefits to having this better ratio, if we're more of a running-based, jumping, throwing sport, is injury prevention. So, like I mentioned before, we can be a little bit more efficient, so our movements are a little bit more efficient. We're not carrying this kind of extra load. If you wanted to think about it, let's say you're actually quite lean as it is now, add a weight vest and then go and sprint for me, go and change direction. You can see that being a little bit heavier is a lot more challenging. There is obviously some risks involved to trying to lose body fat for sports performance or while you're playing sport. For sure, like there's risks with anything. If you do it properly, then we're obviously actually going to reduce our risks of getting injured. But going on to things like fad diets or crash diets or too much calorie restriction, this can obviously hinder our training performance and therefore increase our risk of injury. So this is where it does change a little bit for the athlete, and you have to be a little bit more prepared and conscious of what you're doing in regards to your eating habits, because we're not just focusing on trying to lose body fat at any cost. That's not the point. The point is to try and lose a little bit of body fat, maybe even increase a little bit of lean mass, a little bit of muscle tissue, while improving our sports performance. We're not trying to do it at any cost. If you're losing body fat and your performance is decreasing, then we need to reconsider what we're actually doing. A piece of this is you may have to be a little bit more patient, all right? So just take your time to do this. Like I said, keep all the other metrics of high importance. Make sure that your strength is staying the same or maybe even getting a little bit better. Make sure your lean mass is holding true. Make sure your energy is still up. Your willingness to train is still up. I think the best example is when we think about bodybuilding. which we can have a great appreciation for. But going on those super restrictive diets for them to get on stage, there is a point of diminishing returns. Like, being leaner can definitely help an athlete, but being too lean can have massive side effects. And if you've ever been a bodybuilder or spoken to a bodybuilder, you know that when you're on stage, you are possibly the least athletic that you will ever be. You are very fragile and weak just because you're tired, you're hungry, you don't have enough body fat to support certain systems work. So it's a balance. It's a balance about being, all right, if we've got a little bit too much body fat, that's going to make things a little bit harder. But if we've got too little, it's going to really impair our ability to go. A good place for us to start with all of this is just simply our eating habits. I think our exercise should stay relatively stable. Your exercise is essentially your sport. If you're playing your sport and you're in the gym doing some weights for your sports and you're doing some fitness work for your sport, that's it. Just leave it at that. There doesn't need to be anything extra special in regards to your training to lose body fat. Just play your sport. That is your exercise output, your caloric expenditure. The other side of things is the input, which is your eating habits. So that's where I would focus for an athlete. And again, we're looking at it, yep, cool, the goal might be to lose body fat, but we're also looking at how can we improve recovery, how can we increase lean muscle mass, how can we improve your sports performance via this concept of losing a little bit of body fat. So how can we make it this one whole piece, so we're not just trying to lose body fat at any cost. We are trying to do it to actually increase and get other benefits from just losing body fat and looking better, which is fine. That's really good, because if you're looking better, you're feeling more confident, you're probably going to play better as well. All right, guys, that's a good start. Hopefully that helps. Cheers.